Okay, up next we have Mark Dawson from Quix, who is going to talk to us next. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Katie, great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here for sure. All right, I will hand it over to you. You can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. I will go ahead and do a screen share. Okay, great. Can you see that, Katie? Is that going okay? Awesome,
yeah,
yes.
We're good to go, thanks.
Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. My name is Mark Dawson, and I'm the co-founder of Quix. And I'm going to talk about the Optimism NFT ecosystem today. So that'll be a little bit of a change of pace from some of the more technical talks. This one will be a little more fun and a little bit less technical. Let me tell you a little bit about Quix. We're the largest NFT marketplace on Optimism. We're a top 5 delegate in the Optimism NFT governance system. So you might have heard about the Token House and the Citizens House. We're a top 5 delegate in the Token House. So we'll be voting on proposals for the governance fund. If you're trading on Quix, the average gas fee is 14 cents compared to OpenSea or like ETH mainnet, which will be today usually about $2 or $3. A few months ago, you might remember it was close to like $50. So we're probably 10x or 20x, 30x cheaper than Ethereum mainnet, and we've traded about 2,500 ETH in volume so far. We launched Quix in December 2021, right around the time that Optimism removed its whitelist for apps. So if you're an NFT creator, you probably have used L1 Ethereum, maybe Solana, maybe Polygon. The Optimism NFT ecosystem is much smaller today than the other ecosystems, but it's very exciting for a few reasons. So why would you be excited to use layer 2 NFTs? Layer 2s are, of course, like faster and cheaper. And that sounds great, but it's actually even more exciting because it's like 10x faster, maybe 100x cheaper. So it means that you're going to be doing totally different things. The way I like to say it is that like layer 1 Ethereum is like you're driving a car, and layer 2, like Optimism, means that you're going to be flying in a plane. So you're going to be taking trips that you didn't take before. So what kind of trips might those be? So the breakout use cases that I'll highlight so far: creator-owned smart contracts. Mirror.xyz is one of the biggest Web3 blogging platforms out there. And historically, they had one big smart contract on Ethereum mainnet so that people didn't have to deploy a smart contract for every new blog post that they made. That saves on gas, but the problem is that your writing NFTs can be mixed with like other people's blog posts, which creates kind of a confusing experience on OpenSea or Marketplace. And it can just like make your work harder to find. So earlier this year, Mirror moved over to Optimism. And now when you're creating a blog post on Mirror, you can deploy your blog post as its own contract on Optimism. It's going to cost only maybe like $5 compared to maybe like $50 to $100 on mainnet. And on our marketplace, you can trade the writing NFTs, and they're all their own distinct collections. And like on Etherscan, they're all going to be their own contracts. So that's pretty exciting and pretty creator friendly. Another cool use case of layer 2s is reputation NFTs. So just about a month ago, Rabbit Hole, which is a big like Web3 education platform, launched some badges on our platform. So you can collect these NFTs to prove that maybe you learned a new skill set or that you completed some task. So maybe you learned about some DeFi protocol and now you want a reputation NFT. That doesn't really make that much sense to do on Ethereum mainnet because you're probably not going to make a lot of money off of the like badge NFT. And so you don't want to be paying like $5 to mint it. But on Optimism, you can mint it for like 10 cents. And what's really exciting for me is these reputation NFTs. Today, they're mostly about collecting, but eventually they could be about unlocking maybe like some special skill set. I think all these, like if we put more things on chain, like if we give you more badges for all the stuff you're doing, that gives developers a richer set of data to build on top of. So my hope is that like if I've done a lot of DeFi activities, maybe when I visit a Web3 site, it'll kind of recommend to me DeFi activities or something like that. So reputation NFTs are a great use case of layer 2s. Composable NFTs are another one. That means NFTs that combine with each other. So Dope Wars is an NFT project that was released actually like mid to late 2021. So they're really early on it. They began on Ethereum and they wanted to have these characters that they could equip items to. So, they have these characters called hustlers and you want to give them some like sneakers. And the sneakers are NFTs and the hustlers are an NFT and you want to combine them. The problem on Ethereum mainnet, once again, is that you're going to be looking at like a $5 gas fee for doing that. And really, as L1 Ethereum gets more expensive, the only things that you're going to want to be doing on L1 Ethereum are things that have direct financial benefit. So maybe you'll trade on L1 Ethereum, but you're probably not going to want to like equip or interact with your NFTs on L1 Ethereum. So they built their own bridge actually, which is pretty cool, and bridged their collection to Optimism. And that's just the beginning. There's a lot more I'll say about composable NFTs later. Another great use case is Dragonia. They're an on-chain gaming platform. I think one of the first on-chain games on Optimism. So with these, you buy these Dragon Trainer NFTs and they can battle each other. And it's like a little bit like Pokemon, but much more simple. What's cool is that the battle interactions happen on chain. Once again, as you're putting more stuff on chain and doing slightly less financial activity on chain, you can't be doing that on Ethereum mainnet because it'll be too expensive. So you're going to want a layer 2 like Optimism. These are all live projects today. And there's a bunch that I didn't get to talk about. So let me go ahead and focus on the ecosystem. We have about 40,000 people trading today on Optimism, 40,000 unique wallets, I should say. And a lot of those are in Thailand and East Asia, which is pretty cool. Many are pre-existing NFT communities. So crypto testers, which is this guy with the OP hat and he's green. The crypto testers is a community that's existed for a couple of years, and their goal is to test out new crypto protocols. They issued their community membership NFTs on Optimism, which we were really excited about. And those are trading on Quix today. The other NFTs I'll point out here, a lot of them are pure art NFTs. So this top one is called Optimism, and that's from our community in Thailand. They have a very active community and some really strong developers over there. A lot of them will like review smart contracts that we put out, and they've created their own launchpad. This middle one that looks like you can't quite tell what it is, that's called Ganland, and that's AI generated art by a project called Fractal Visions, and that's based in Colorado, I believe, in the United States. We have Board Town in the top right. This is like the animal looking ghost. And that is a collection, again, from creators in Thailand. That one's really fun. The Board Town Animal Ghost project has the honor, I think, of being the first collection that was copied by like a scammer and put on OpenSea. So like a scammer, copied all the all the art and launched their collection on Ethereum mainnet. And I always take that as a sign that you're doing something right when people want to copy your work and take it to other places, because early when you're establishing an ecosystem, of course, the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to sort of copy what happens on layer 1 Ethereum and try it on Optimism. But now people are copying what's happening on Optimism and trying to put it on layer 1. So that's pretty cool. This one of the person in the helmet is called Motorheads. And that is a collection by a designer actually at OP Labs named JVMI. And this collection is kind of about video games and early 2000s nostalgia. So like there is this really cool mint page that had a Game Boy on it. And that one's a pure art project that's quickly developing its own community. And then this one that's kind of cut off a little bit. This is a duck called Usagi Duck. And that's from an artist in Japan. And she made this collection of 2000 ducks that all look very funny and whimsical. So this is a taste of some of the communities and artwork on Quix today that I wanted to give a shout out to. And another cool thing is that many of these communities launched using our launchpad on Quix. So I'll take a minute to talk about that. Our launchpad is a creator-owned smart contract tool that you can use to deploy your collection, and will also create a mint page for you. And you can have your own allow list, and you can also reserve some for your core team and do the drop like directly on our website. If you're a little more sophisticated, you can of course make your own smart contracts and make your own mint page, and we'll also index and pull those collections into the marketplace. So we're just a big secondary marketplace, and we're going to pull all the NFTs deployed on Optimism into our marketplace. So out of these ones, Ganland, Motorheads, Boardtown, and Usagi Duck all used our launchpad, and Optimism created their own website, and I think Crypto Testers did as well. And Optimism also created their own launchpad, I think, which is pretty cool. There's also a bunch of other launchpad tools and creator tools on Optimism. So you can find them at NiftyKit and Mintplex. And there might be another one. But yeah, more and more creator tools coming to Optimism. I'll say it's still a very tightly knit and community. So a lot of these collections will work with each other. So like the Motorheads will often like cross promote with the Boardtown NFTs, for example. So you might be asking what's next for Optimism NFTs, because so far the ecosystem is collections that you might see on mainnet. So like the art ones, the tradable community pieces. We expect that to continue to grow, but we have these really exciting things in the pipeline. So we have an NFT bridge coming up that allows you to take an NFT on layer 1 Ethereum and bridge it over to Optimism. I'm gonna discuss that more at length in a couple minutes. We're excited about these reputation NFTs. So that's something similar to what Rabbit Hole is doing. These, sometimes we call them badges. The difference here is that these are often earned rather than purchased. And they're often not really good assets for trading because they mean that you did something right. So like if you completed a quest on Rabbit Hole, there's no reason for me to purchase that. But it's still really interesting, and I'll talk a bit more about reputation NFTs. And then composable NFTs. So that's what I was talking about with Dope Wars. There's a developer named Austin Griffith. He has a pretty big following on Twitter, so you might have heard of him. And he has proposed this ERC called ERC 4883, which is a specification for composable NFTs that can like fit together. He created a collection on Optimism called Optimistic Loogies, where you can have these little characters and you can equip items to them like bow ties or lipstick. And there's a specification for doing that. So we're excited to help people make composable NFTs. And we think that's really something special that you're going to want to do on a layer 2 rather than on mainnet Ethereum. So let me talk a bit about the NFT bridge. That is slated for launch in October 2022. So that's very soon. We have development was led by a software engineer named Sam Goldman on the Quix team. And he has contributed that to the Optimism code base. So that will be maintained by OP Labs. When we were designing it, our goals were first and foremost to be credibly neutral. So like no fees or anything like that. And then fast, easy, and permissionless. We want the structure and semantics of the bridge, and especially of the corresponding smart contracts, to be very close to layer one. And I think you'll find that that's a theme of a lot of projects on Optimism. Because of the EVM equivalence, it makes it easy to be very similar to layer one smart contracts and projects. And we want all the tooling around NFTs that you have on layer one to also work great on layer two. So that means, for example, that every layer one collection that is a smart contract is going to have a mirrored smart contract on Optimism. We're not going to try and make, for example, one giant contract and deploy everything on that one contract. And the reason for that is that a contract for NFTs is often synonymous with a collection. And we want to keep that boundary there. We're using the official Optimism cross-domain messenger. And what that means is that we're using the official Optimism protocol to handle cross-layer communication. This is different than using an Oracle or a service like Layer Zero. Layer Zero Labs created these fun omni-chain NFTs earlier this year, starting with the Ghostly Ghost collection. And that was really fun, but they did use a Web 2 style Oracle to handle the message passing, which is cool because you can send NFTs in minutes, but you might have security concerns. So this is a highly secure bridge. The trade-off there is that it might be a little bit slower than using an Oracle. So if you're going from layer one to layer two, it's going to be about 15 minutes. I think after the Bedrock upgrade for Optimism, it's going to be more like 5 minutes. To go from layer two to layer one, it's going to take a week because it has to go through the challenge period for the fault proofs. So for this bridge, it's like highly secure and therefore a little bit slower. In the future, there might be a fast bridge that uses like an Oracle like Layer Zero, but for this bridge, for the very first bridge in the Optimism NFT ecosystem, and one of the first official bridges in the for one of the first official bridges in the Layer 2 NFT world generally, we wanted it to be as secure as possible. And then I'll just briefly discuss how it works a little bit. So it's an escrow system. So it just locks your layer one NFT in a layer one smart contract, and then sends the message to layer two, and then mints a corresponding NFT on layer two. And then that NFT can be passed around. It can be traded around. And then whenever you want to leave Optimism, you can burn that NFT and it will unlock the layer one asset and give it back to you. So this is how ERC20 bridges work often, and it's how the Optimism ERC20 bridge works. And this means that the asset is just as valuable on Optimism as it is on layer one, because owning the NFT on Optimism means that you own the asset on layer one. So that is a deep dive on the NFT bridge. I wanted to talk about how we plan to use the bridge in our marketplace. So bridging, there's a technical aspect to bridging, which is what I talked about with the message passing and with the smart contracts. But what might be even more interesting is the social aspects to bridging. So NFTs are a little bit different from ERC20 tokens because they often have artwork and a community associated with it. And the community is kind of all you have in a lot of cases. And so it's going to be the NFT owners at the end of the day that have to decide to bridge to Optimism to take advantage of the cheaper fees and new design possibilities with the lower fees and faster transaction times. It's unlikely, for example, that the core developers of a project can just tell everyone to bridge. And so for that reason, we want to make it really easy for owners to bridge to Optimism. And also we want to make it easy for them to list across layers. So this is like the Boardtown project. And this is how a collection is laid out on Quix today. You're going to see a bunch of the assets like in a grid format. And I just put this here to show you what like a unified collection looks like. And for layer 1 collections, we want them to still be unified, even if they're partly bridged. So someone might point out, for example, that there is a Polygon NFT bridge and that OpenSea currently supports Ethereum and Polygon's much cheaper. So why isn't everyone just bridging their Ethereum NFTs to Polygon and trading them on OpenSea, since there's like technically support for that? And the answer is that the platform is not designed to encourage bridging, because once you bridge, let's say you have a Bored Ape, if you bridge the Bored Ape to Polygon, that's going to show up as a completely different collection on OpenSea. And people might think it's a scam. It's going to be weird. All of the activity is going to be segregated between the two collections. You're probably not going to be able to get as high of a price for that reason, because people might think it's less credible. And so the way we're designing Quix is we want it to be designed so that you bridge NFTs. So we're soon going to begin indexing and showing layer 1 NFTs in your profile in Quix. And we're doing that not because we're about to also have trading happen on layer 1, because we're an Optimism NFT marketplace, but it's so that you can have the opportunity to bridge your L1 assets and begin trading them on Optimism. So if you have a Bored Ape, for example, on Quix, what you'll be able to do is, let's say you list your Bored Ape on Quix. Then you'll be able to see the Bored Ape and its attributes and its rarities and its activity in the same place as all of the layer 1 NFTs. So there's still going to be 10,000 items in the collection, if that's how many are on layer 1, and it'll show maybe like 100 of them have been bridged and are for sale. But we'll still do our best to pull in all the activity and all the context from layer 1 that you want to see. And this is really important because when you're trading NFTs, getting context and feeling like you're a part of the bigger community is really important. So that is kind of how at the social layer, we're encouraging people to list their NFTs on Optimism, to bridge to Optimism, and to use them on Optimism. And if we do this correctly, then this is just going to be a pure win for everyone, because the lower fees on Optimism mean that you can have lower price collections. So on Ethereum today, if your floor price for your NFT collection falls below a certain threshold, the gas fees make it not worth trading anymore. And that can be really sad for the collection. So you might be able to breathe life into that collection by bridging it to Optimism, because it allows trading to kind of continue, even if it's only worth a few dollars. And in fact, a lot of the collections on Optimism are only worth a few dollars. And we also allow creators to create a custom contract for the Optimism collection. So what I mean by that is when you bridge an asset from Ethereum to Optimism, we deploy a standard plain vanilla Open Zeppelin NFT contract for you. That's great for trading and transferring and collecting. But let's say that you now want to add the ability to, I don't know, have your, two NFTs have a baby, for example. I don't know. Let's say these two Bored Apes can have a little baby Bored Ape. You're going to need to add some functionality in your smart contract to do that. So if you're looking to extend your layer 1 NFT collection, yeah, CryptoKitties throwback. Thanks, Jacob. If you're looking to extend your NFT collection, you might want to combine that with bridging. So because the way the bridge works, remember, is you escrow the layer 1 asset and then you mint a new asset on Optimism. But you can be minting that in a standard ERC 721 contract, or you can be minting it in a custom one that adds some functionality. So the goal for bridging for us is that you're opening up a new design space, you're doing things that you haven't been doing before, and that we're helping your community scale. And the other piece to that I'll add is that we're looking to integrate our bridge into our launchpad. So we're kind of in a weird purgatory period today with layer 2 adoption, because layer 1 definitely works and layer 2s, they work, but there hasn't been a social consensus about which layer 2s to pick, or their security hasn't been as battle tested as layer 1 Ethereum, obviously. And so let's say you want to launch a companion collection for your L1 collection, or you want to launch a brand new collection and you're excited about Optimism, but you want to give the community the ability to bridge back to layer 1. We're going to add into our launchpad the ability for you to launch a collection on Optimism or on Ethereum with like bridging kind of pre-built in as part of the plan. Now you don't need to have that at launch, but we want to like, once again, give the like design affordance to everyone to say like, hey, like think about scaling right now, because when the next bull market kicks off, gas fees might crush your community. So like, let's pick a place at launch for us all to move to, or maybe even you mint the token originally on Optimism, but if you don't want to be on Optimism in the future, you can like bridge back to layer 1 Ethereum. You can kind of plan that out. So we're still in the design phases of like what a cross-layer launchpad looks like, where you get the benefits of launching on Optimism while still having the ability to exit to layer 1 if you want. So that's like a really active area of design and like product research for us. So that concludes the overview I have of the Optimism NFT ecosystem. I have a couple minutes left, so what I might do is just show you our platform. So this is the Quix website, and you can see we're featuring our mirror writing NFTs. We've recently been doing a OP OG NFT drop, so we gave this early optimist. We name him Tim or Timmy for Optimism. And we gave this to like people who were trading on Quix, in the early days. And so it's really easy to get started. We're at qx.app, and we encourage anyone who's interested to join, especially one of the like lower cost NFT communities, and hop in the Discord. And if you're a developer, consider checking out what you can build on layer 2. And that kind of wraps up my presentation. Do I still have some time, Katie, or should I keep going or turn it back over to you all?
Hey, Mark, I'm gonna jump in for Katie. Good to see you here. I think we'll just double check if there's any questions or anything, but you're free to use a couple more minutes if you have some more stuff to chat about. Otherwise, I'm just gonna check if there's any questions. So give me 1 second here.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can of course do ecosystem spotlights all day long because we have so many. Cool. I'll just keep spotlighting some groups in the ecosystem. So this is called Draconic Egg, and it was fun because these were originally egg NFTs, and then they hatched at a specific day, which is kind of like a reveal. These were actually generated with I forget which model, but it was like an AI that made all these, which is cool to me anyway. And we've actually seen a lot of dragon themed collections. The other one I'll spotlight is Dragonia, and this is like the play to earn game. So these dragon trainers can like fight each other. And that's a great layer 2 use case because you don't want to be paying L1 gas fees when you're interacting with the game on chain. And let me go to this explore page. We're in the middle of the Optimism Quest. If you haven't heard of that, definitely go check it out. This is a way to explore the ecosystem and earn these fun NFTs. And you can look at your NFTs on Quix. So if you've traded on Uniswap, you get one. If you've used synthetics, you get one. There's all sorts of Velodrome is another big decentralized exchange type protocol. If you're writing any article on Mirror, that's going to deploy on Optimism and show up on Quix, and it'll trade on Quix. So a lot of fun announcements, like this group called SyncSwap announced their mission statement and did it on Mirror, and they traded several $1,000s worth of that blog post on Quix and on Optimism, which is pretty fun.
Very cool.
How am I doing on time, Jacob?
I mean, we're right on time. I mean, we can wrap up here. Really cool to have you here, Mark. I mean, Quix was, I guess at the time, Quixotic was probably the first meaningful transaction I did on Optimism. Otherwise, instead of just sending money to somebody. So it's really cool to have you be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And yeah, I guess the Easter egg is we used to be called Quixotic, but we got the feedback that was really hard to say and hard to spell. So we shortened it to Quix.
I like the name. It's nice. Very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's quick. Quick to transaction optimism.
Love it. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. And I love the work that you're doing, especially around education and tying NFTs to getting people to learn more about and just incentivize exploring what's out there on the Optimism network. So it's been awesome to have you here. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been great to be here.
Okay, cool. Well, that about wraps it up on our end. So thank you, Mark, again. And then, yeah, on behalf of Katie and I, thank you so much for being a part of this event and for joining us to hear more about the Optimism ecosystem, both from the people working on it and from some of the people that are deploying on top of it. So yeah, really excited to be finishing this conversation up. And thanks so much. If you're going to want to watch this later, it's available on our YouTube page at ETH Global on YouTube. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you at our next summit tomorrow.